Welcome to the Good Game Top 100, the best games of all time as voted by you, the gamers of Australia. I'm Barjo.
And I'm Hex.
Over the last month, we've been asking you to lodge your online votes for your favourite games. And with over 50,000 carefully tallied votes, the result is tonight's incredible list.
A big thank you to everyone for throwing their favourites into the ring. There certainly are a few surprises. How tough was it to narrow down your top games in order to vote, Barjo?
Oh, it was so hard, Hex. It hurt my head and my heart. What did you vote for?
I voted for Assassin's Creed 2, The Last of Us and Mass Effect 3.
Good list. My first vote was for World of Warcraft. Mostly because it shaped the gamer that I am today, specifically my resting T-Rex posture.
Oh, well, we'll see if it made the list. Now, it would take us way longer than an hour to go through every single game in the top 100, so the full list will be on our website.
Yes, mostly tonight we'll be counting down the top 20, right up to number 1, Australia's favourite game.
Yes, but just quickly, Barjo, let's take a moment to honour the game that just scraped in at number 100.
Oh yes, it definitely deserves an honourable mention. Drum roll, please. Number 100 is Super Mario Brothers.
Wow. This was the first proper scrolling Mario platformer.
Super Mario Brothers has pretty much been the template for 2D platformers ever since it was released in 1985 on the NES. In fact, many believe it's the whole reason we have video games today. Still, with all the games out there, even making this list is an achievement. And
I'm sure it's not the last we'll see of Shigeru Miyamoto's work tonight. But now let's take a look at some of the other notable mentions in your top 100.
Games that sort of put me in a beautiful universe and just asked me to explore it, and that's what Shadow of the Colossus did. Every time you destroyed one of these beasts, it was really bittersweet because they were so beautiful, and that's what you were doing. You were destroying something beautiful, and I don't think a game has ever made me feel that way prior to Shadow of the Colossus.
I've had the most fun playing FIFA. We get out of our chairs, we take our shirts off, and we're running around the house like, goal! Lionel Messi, goal!
Journey for me is the perfect game to introduce anyone who says that all games are violent and useless and they're not art, it's ridiculous. Show them Journey.
I have to admit, I felt a little twinge of sadness, Barjo. Journey in at only number 69.
Me too. It was one of the most striking games of the last generation.
Still, I guess it was a platform-exclusive game, so if you didn't have a PS3, it's unlikely you'd vote for it.
I'm glad we stopped to honour it, though. Journey, I bow to you.
My strongest memory and my biggest love of Metal Gear Solid was its characters. Its characters were totally off the wall, totally crazy.
Wait a minute, Super Mario 64 usually makes it into at least the top 10 of most best game lists, yet here we are at number 47? I mean, didn't this game virtually invent the 3D platformer?
I'm sorry, Hex, I can't join in with your rage because I was a Sega guy back then.
Barjo, Sonic was pretty much dead in the water.
I made a pact, Hex, Sonic for life.
Look, any veteran gamer would tell you that the best game of all time is undoubtedly Clowns, the 1982 masterpiece. Clowns has everything. It has, clowns, two clowns actually, a veritable duet of playable characters. And while you kids are off Skyrimming each other, Clowns, it was the first open-world sandbox game where one could travel anywhere at all, provided it was either left or right.
What was he doing here? We didn't invite him. Back to the top 100, please.
You're a Nathan Drake fan, right?
Yeah.
but it's Tomb Raider.
What is it? No,
Let's be honest.
Excuse me.
Let's be honest.
Tomb Raider
It's Tomb
was
Raider.
was crap, and then Uncharted came along and basically gave me the same mouthfeel as. That's actually a wine term. It gave me the same mouthfeel and the same kick in the gut as what the new Indiana Jones film should have done.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, I'll give you that.
Brilliant lore and a completely over-the-top lighting system. I remember looking at the sword in front of my face thinking, that thing is blinding me.
I sense something, a presence I've not felt since...
Since you sat down at your PC to play Knights of the Old Republic?
Yes. This was the game that gave BioWare the legs for Mass Effect. Such an important game.
Well, we do have a lot to thank KOTOR for, especially the way it challenged our moral compass with those light and dark decisions. It may not rule the galaxy today, but spoiler alert, it is our highest-ranking Star Wars game.
No! That's not true! That's impossible!
Assassin's Creed Black Flag disappointed me because I thought you were going to be playing Henry Rollins in the early 80s in California.
Team Fortress 2 to me is the first-person shooter that has a sense of team play more than any other first-person shooter, and this is why, to me, it's kind of the most impressively designed first-person shooter out there.
I absolutely adore Lara Croft, and the latest reboot just made her real, it made her relatable, and it was a great story.
I guess maybe BioShock, its greatest contribution is for cosplays between fathers and daughters. You know, Big Daddy, get in a diver suit.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Paint up your kid to look a bit freaky.
Yep.
You know,
And make sure you don't harvest her for Adam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I kind of first discovered that I could bring a mate into the action and just load up on cheats and just stand in the middle and just start lobbing grenades everywhere, that was a great moment. That was a fantastic moment.
So many incredible games to bring us to this point, Barjo.
Absolutely, and a few curveballs in there as well. And we didn't even have time to talk about games like Terraria at number 71, which is a good game favourite, or League of Legends at number 28, which last time I checked is the most played PC game in the world.
Well, hundreds upon hundreds of games were voted for, so really this top 100 is just the tip of a well-loved list.
Indeed, and now it's time to delve into the cream of the crop, starting with number 20.
I have a strong memory of running down hotel room hallways with Dave Callan, pilfering televisions from other rooms.
Yeah. So we could play, because he brought his Xbox as well on tour.
Yeah.
Then we were able to do multiplayer.
And the game was Halo.
Halo is the game that I've spent more hours playing than any other game ever. One time I tried to work it out how many hours I'd spent playing Halo, and it was probably about 1,600 hours. I played that game constantly. I played multiplayer all the time, and it's probably the game I'm best at. Like, if I was to play anyone watching, bring it, man, I'll destroy you.
Halo. It's arguably the game that launched the Xbox console from being the new kid in school into a gaming juggernaut. And for its time, it was a technical showcase.
The single-player campaign was just like, oh my god, these guys are thinking. Like, the AI was incredible, and who can forget when you get off that spaceship, you look down, oh my god, the grass. You can see the individual blades of grass. So you look at the grass, wow, the grass. You look up, oh my god, the Halo thing, it goes right round. You turn round, oh, it goes all the way back. Oh my, what is this? Oh.
The story gave us a glimpse into a universe full of danger, ancient mysteries, and larger-than-life heroes. But for many, the most enduring memories of Halo are those shared with friends.
And the co-op in the first Halo, I think, was a great victory for gameplay over sort of common sense. Like, it made no sense for their story to have two Spartans. You know, it absolutely flew in the face of all the fiction they were trying to create, but it was fun. It was fun to have two of you. So you know, they implemented it, and you could bring a friend through the whole game. It was incredible. I remember the last level in Halo is one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had in co-op. Good times.
Yeah, it's good. Congratulations to Bungie.
And 4 other Halo games made it into the top 100, so it's clearly a well-respected franchise. But now, on to number 19.
With its blend of romanticised history and science fiction, the Assassin's Creed series pierced the hearts of many gamers. And what better place to explore than the streets of Renaissance-era Italy in Assassin's Creed 2?
Assassin's Creed 2 was the first time in video game history they had successfully combined parkour, stabbing, and the Renaissance. Apart from, of course, the early SNES hit Super Michelangelo's free-running knife adventure.
Assassin's Creed 2 did something that not even Bill and Ted could do on their excellent adventure. It made history fun. Renaissance history, one of the most boring histories. Oh, there's sculptures. Oh, they made towers in Italian towns. Boring, boring, boring. Not Assassin's Creed 2.
It's your auditore. What are you doing here at this hour?
There's so few games that actually nail just that pleasure of movement itself. You know, being able to just run and jump and cross buildings. The running itself is kind of its own reward.
Well, I'm obsessed with rock climbing, and Assassin's Creed 2 was the game that got me into climbing. It changed my life. That game legitimately changed my life.
You've got throwing beggars to the ground. You've got stabbing people. You've got jumping off landmarks into piles of hay. All of these things in real life range from frowned upon to technically illegal, so it's like a consequence-free way to backpack through Italy while being a jerk.
I mean, Ezio is a bit of a jerk.
Ezio, my friend. Ah, ma che ti piglia? You insult my sister.
He must be late, and she must be beautiful.
That kind of moment near the end of the game when, you know, Minerva basically turns and speaks to Desmond and effectively to kind of you out the camera as part of that sort of final grand sequence is just that epic moment that takes you back when a game kind of breaks the wall like that. It was just beautiful.
Our words are not meant for you.
What are you talking about? There's no one else here.
Well, I knew Ezio would charm his way into the top 20s somewhere. And speaking of charm, Goose is going to help us out with the next one. So let's leave Italy. In fact, let's leave Earth altogether for number 18.
Hi, I'm Commander Goose, and Mass Effect 3 is your 18th favourite game on the Citadel. By the time Mass Effect 3 came around, we'd faced off against a whole spectrum of elusive enemies, the harbingers of chaos. We were stronger, and our decisions shaped the fate of the universe.
Getting to Mass Effect 3 was sort of the completion of that journey, and you become so connected to your ship and experiencing the story through your decisions and your moral compass.
You brought me here to confirm what you already know. The Reapers are here.
FemShep is a more classic form of empowerment in that she's very strong and she can handle her situations, she can take control, she can give those FemShep speeches that rouse you and get you ready to go into battle.
This isn't about strategy or tactics. This is about survival.
It's not easy being the top dog, so with the weight of the universe on our shoulders, it was nice to have some old friends around.
Come see me when you're ready.
By Mass Effect 3, there are all these very realised characters that you've experienced this whole tumultuous series of events with. They've changed from when you first met them. So I think, yeah, you have this sort of band of merry space miscreants, and it's a really fun experience to have your crew together.
There was a somber feel to this series finale. The Reaper threat was no longer distant, it was now on the doorstep of civilization. The annihilation of organic life had begun, and it was clear that the characters we'd grown to love were not going to make it through.
This thing goes sideways and we both end up there. Meet me at the bar. I'm buying.
It was a wonderful finale to an incredibly long, epic journey, and managed to tie all of those decisions that you'd made and all of those relationships that you'd formed together, and I think that's an incredible achievement.
When you have a franchise that's so loved and experienced so individually, there's no way to end it that's going to satisfy everybody, and yeah, no one was going to be really happy with that story coming to an end.
I have to say, I expected Mass Effect 3 to get more votes, Barjo, but I guess that ending tarnished gamers' memories of it.
Yes, there was quite the uproar online, wasn't there? I like to think of the whole last game as the ending, though, not just the last 10 minutes.
Well said. But now let's move on to the next game, number 17.
It's cute that y'all think you're the heroes of this little adventure, but you're not. Welcome to Pandora, kiddos.
okay, Borderlands 2. Are you
No.
not, really?
Why is that there?
Because it's perfect.
No, it's silly.
It's perfect.
It's dumb.
No, you take.
I liked it, but it was dumb.
No, you take the talent trees and addictiveness of an MMO, and then you take the pathos of a show like Firefly, and then you take the Twitch-based shooting of it's just so good.
Borderlands 2 took the insane cooperative gun-grabbing RPG lootathon blasting of the original and turned it all up to 11.
It plays upon that human desire to just get more guns. That's a human desire, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just so unapologetic about the fact that it's a game. It's all about shooting big beasts, crazy bandits. That's all you really do in Borderlands, and that's all I really want to do in Borderlands, or any shooter for that matter.
What really draws me to Borderlands 2 is the co-op. 4-player co-op, it's so rare in a ridiculous game with overpowered, stupid weapons.
Oh, it's just chaos, isn't it?
I love the cel-shaded graphics. I absolutely just love keeping on playing, getting better loot all the time.
I played 400 hours. I have a gun that shoots swords. What's there not to like?
Okay, that's pretty cool. But
So
it took you 400 hours to get one.
Yeah, on the 400th hour I got that and installed it, and then I cried for a few days.
Well, our next game has probably caused more rage quits than all the other games in this list combined. Prepare to die.
Oh my god. Oh, I love Dark Souls so much.
I strongly suspect that on my gravestone, it will just say, you died.
I was in Dubai before the game came out, and I'm there with the creator of the game. There's a whole bunch of journos, and we've been showing the build, right? And all the journos are playing, no one knows what's going to come. And I'm watching the guy who created it. He's just sitting there, and he knows what's coming. And he's just watching the screen, and he's like this. And then, you know, inevitably someone gets an arrow in the back of the head or crushed by a boulder, and he just cracks up. And he's just evil.
Dark Souls is my favourite game of last generation, easily. It's fun, not because it's hard. That's not the appeal of Dark Souls. The appeal of Dark Souls is you can't even put it into words. The world is just so interconnected, and the mechanics are just so rewarding.
In Dark Souls, if you die, it's your fault. I've never played a game before where it's been so much on you. And I lost a lot of friends playing Dark Souls. Totally worth it.
It's one thing about when you die in a game, you don't know how, or it's because the controller didn't work, or because I'm just better than you. It was more so that you can kind of get slightly better each time you play, and you felt like you're becoming a better player.
It's kind of everything that gaming should be boiled down into this very pure little gemstone.
Dark Souls is to slashing what Mario is to jumping. Like, it's fun in Mario to jump. You could just jump all day long and you'd be happy. In Dark Souls, I could just swing my club, swing my sword, die, I just don't care. I'm just doing the simplest things in Dark Souls. It's just such a beautiful experience. When I think about it, I get shivers.
Final Fantasy VII was the first game that a lot of us remember having those really stunning pre-rendered cinematic cutscenes where you're sitting in front of your TV in 1997 and you're like, this is the future. It can't possibly get better than this. This is just so stunningly beautiful. We were still on, the PlayStation 1. We were still playing Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, and those sorts of games. And then along comes this JRPG out of nowhere. It's massive and it's bold. There's also this moment that everyone remembers where this character who you love dies. And of course you think, well, she's going to come back. I mean, this is a totally fantastical world where anything can happen. But she doesn't. She doesn't come back. She is dead. And I think that was the first moment for me in 1997 where I realized that video games could be more than what they were. That they could actually tell stories that were heartbreaking, that they could actually make a person cry. And that was, for all its other various great qualities, Final Fantasy VII was the first game to make me cry.
Our next game, number 14, was a true industry changer.
You could say it opened up a valve of creativity for FPS.
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine.
My goodness, Gordon Freeman. Hey, Gordon!
Gordon, stay put!
I'm all but certain it was Gordon Freeman.
Half-Life 2 is just one of my favourite games of all time, man.
Half-Life 2 was amazing.
Isn't it? The game that got me back into PC gaming.
Arriving at a train station, being processed, like, you feel like you're part of a real universe rather than superhero dude with a gun who never gets shot. That's what makes Half-Life feel special. You are every man kind of thing, and it's got real serious human emotion stuff going on.
Dr. Freeman, I presume.
To a backdrop of cool sci-fi and violence. Yeah.
I remember there was one of those early scenes and you kind of walk up to one of the prison doors and you peer through the little visor into the prison room, and a guard turns around and just slams it shut. But those little subtle differences are what elevates, good developers and great developers. What separates them is those little things which aren't there just for everybody. They're there for those people who just happen to be in that moment.
The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world.
They treat every chapter like it's a different game in a way. It starts as a typical shooter, and then you kind of get this gravity gun, and it turns into this sort of physics puzzly game. And then you're on an airboat, and then you're on a car, and then later on you're sort of the king of the crabs, and you have those huge antlion crab monsters that you just like throw pheromones and they just go and do your bidding.
The gravity gun.
Oh, so good.
The Citadel.
The Citadel.
The guy who's just beyond your reach all the time with a briefcase.
Dog the Bounty Hunter.
What? Dog the Bounty Hunter wasn't in it?
He is. He's a huge robot.
Is he?
Oh, he's just called Dog.
It introduces physics as gameplay, which was really its big selling point, where in the past, items in video game worlds couldn't really be interacted with in any sort of meaningful, realistic way. I remember when Half-Life 2 came out, I was telling my dad, like, this game has physics. There's buoyancy in it. I was so excited about the fact that I could have buoyancy in a video game. It was, like, mind-blowing.
The storyline behind it, the way the characters were developed, and the world that was developed. A great science fiction world. And I fell in love with Alex Vance.
I found him wandering around outside. Bit of a troublemaker, isn't he?
And she was my ideal woman throughout my 20s.
She's the ideal woman.
Yeah, well. Whenever Gordon Freeman was dying, she'd come along and help him out.
I don't even know, was immersion even a word then? I don't know, but that game, that summed it up. It was a linear game that didn't feel linear. The level design was just so beautifully constructed that you just kind of always felt like you were making these spontaneous decisions in the flight of the moment, but you weren't. You were doing exactly what they expected you to do.
This is where I get off.
The name James Bond is synonymous with charm, sophistication, and action, but in the gaming world it was more closely linked with obscurity. That was until a small British developer by the name of Rare came along.
GoldenEye is, a legendary, groundbreaking first-person shooter, and it's perhaps the only computer game based on a film that is better than the film. I mean, apart from the bit where Xenia on the top crushes someone's head with her thighs.
There was real storytelling attached to it. If you'd seen the movie, you sort of knew the story, but it actually integrated that. This wasn't Doom. This was a really nice rendition of a story you kind of knew.
I found out that some of the designers of the game were first-time programmers for computer games, and so what they lacked in experience, they had with ambition, and they tried all these new ideas out.
And Rare definitely were ambitious. Elements such as stealth, reactive AI, non-linear objectives, and extensive weapons and cheat catalogues were all incredibly innovative and unique for a first-person shooter at the time. But it was the multiplayer where GoldenEye shone the brightest.
I mean, at the time, kind of LANs and online multiplayer just, was still just too hard to really make happen. So, I mean, GoldenEye was that multiplayer shooter experience.
For PC gamers, they had their Doom and they had their Deathmatch. For people who were primarily console gamers, GoldenEye was like a goddamn revolution.
GoldenEye multiplayer, playing it with my brothers. One brother went into a room and just filled it with proximity mines, just had like a tiny room.
Right.
And then he found my brother, and then he held him up at gunpoint and made him walk into the room.
That's amazing. We played an all chops match. We just chop, chop, chop. You know the hand-to-hand stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You ever tried karate chopping a person? They don't go down, but in GoldenEye, somehow.
Yes, who could forget the infamous slappers only option? But the real magic of GoldenEye's multiplayer was in the act of screen sharing with your nearest and dearest on one couch in the same room.
What impresses me is how much joy that game provided per square inch of screen. So these days you're playing sort of Titanfall or Call of Duty or whatever on a 50-inch TV, TV the size of like a child's mattress. In '98 or whenever it was, when playing GoldenEye, not only were you playing it on a screen like less than a quarter of the size of the screens we have now, but you were playing on a quarter of that quarter in 4-player split screen.
The amount of fun you could have sitting that close to a TV for your corner of the screen was amazing.
Back in 1997, GoldenEye was a work of art, and still the best film-to-game adaptation of all time. Yeah! I said no odd job!
Well, when I heard this next game was coming in at number 12, I did a small poo in my pants.
The gaming transition from comics to consoles has rarely been smooth, and while the incredible Batman Arkham Asylum seemed to have come from nowhere, it was Arkham City that truly delivered the Batman experience we'd been waiting for.
Thanks to legendary Batman scribe Paul Dini, we got to experience a Dark Knight saga on par with the best Batman stories. But more than that, Arkham City achieved something that no comic book or film ever could.
When I played that game, I felt like I'm Batman, and it's rare that a game designer or developer can make me feel like I'm some other character.
Everyone wants to be Batman, The only people who don't want to be Batman are either dead or they're already Batman.
Of course you do! Who wouldn't?
But the real hero of the game was the city itself. Leaping from a rooftop with your cape spread, you were engulfed by this morbid metropolis. The jagged skyline, the abandoned streets, the gothic architecture. This was Gotham finally done right. Dark, gritty, and spectacular.
The Bat's here!
It's not just one of the best games of all time, it's probably one of the best works of man-made awesomeness ever.
Ooh, aren't you scary? You're about to find out.
Arkham City. When I think about it, Hex, I feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Don't you mean dark and brooding, Barjo? On to number 11 in our top 100, and it's a second bite of the cherry for BioWare.
The Reapers are still out there.
And it's up to us to stop them.
Mass Effect 2 started with a bang and never slowed down, setting the scene for a far darker, more mysterious adventure that sent us to all corners of this sprawling sci-fi universe.
We all had our old kind of feelings of what an RPG could be, but I never thought of that as being a really fun combat experience. And it kind of delivered that, and it kind of delivered this Hollywood-style sci-fi universe that you could really sink your teeth into.
I just got way out of hand with Mass Effect 2 in trying to mine every rock in the universe, so I'm sure I could have finished that game probably 100 hours earlier if I didn't feel like I just had to go and scan every little place in the entire galaxy.
Although the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, it was the cast and their relationships that many of us will remember most intensely.
We've lost good people. We may lose more.
The moment when I knew that Mass Effect 2, and indeed the Mass Effect series as a whole, was so brilliant and so special was during a love scene where my character was getting it on with the character that I had been romancing. And I thought it was like I thought it was gonna be really funny. So I got my partner in. I was like, come on, let's look at this scene. It's gonna be so funny. Like, you know, it's really sincere. And as soon as it started, I was like, no, you have to leave the room. You have to leave the room. You have to get out. Because it was suddenly really personal to me. I was like, wow, this game is something special in terms of the way that it developed its characters and your relationships with those characters. And of course, then in the background, there's this giant, you know, like high stakes space opera going on as well, where you have to save the world. It's an incredible juggling act.
I got to the end of it and all my guys survived, and I thought I was this legend, you know, because who I'm talking to, they lost all these people and I didn't, you know, and then I find out that you can get laid. I didn't know that. I had to go back through it and sort that out.
All right, Hex, we're down to the top 10. I think that calls for a dramatic pause.
We'll be back after this break.
Commemorate your Good Game Top 100 viewing experience with this unique Top 100 rubber chicken statuette. It's tough and glossy, making it the perfect centerpiece for your living room or workspace. Not only that, this statuette is guaranteed to improve your everyday life by up to 46%.
I used to feel so bored at work while I was at work, but since I got my Good Game Top 100 chicken statuette, my life has improved 46%.
Just check out all of its amazing uses. Bottle opener, paperweight, key holder, doorstop, or just sit back and let it do the work for you. Own your very own piece of gaming history with your limited edition Good Game Top 100 chicken statuette. Warning, quality may vary, also not a real product.
Welcome back. Hex, are you ready to count down the top 10 of the Good Game Top 100?
Oh, it's so exciting. Coming in at number 10 in the Good Game Top 100 as voted by you.
Well, what we'll do, I'll run in first, gather up all the eggs so we can kind of just, you know, blast them all down with AoE. I think it's a pretty good plan. We should be able to pull it off this time.
All right, chums up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Dragons!
World of Warcraft, for me, is the game that popularized MMO. It took what was currently the least popular gaming genre in the world, like it was really niche and really nerdy to be into an MMO, and it totally flipped it around on its head, and we had more people playing that kind of game than any other game that there was.
World of Warcraft. This is the game where Andrew said, I'm going to go off and play World of Warcraft, and I didn't see you for 2 years.
Yeah, you're right. Just even saying those words is a wild temptation that will destroy me through and through.
Some people rag on WoW, but I think it's like their proudest moment to do a game that's that inclusive. We have people of all ages playing, men, women, we had families playing together, trying to make entertainment that bridges that many sort of like demographic barriers and stuff like that. It's not easy.
Yeah.
I wanted to organise an intervention.
Yeah, and you should have. Do you remember? I just ran into an old friend once, and I'd started playing about a month beforehand, and I don't even know this guy well. And then I just started saying, you know what you need in your life? World of Warcraft. I became this door-knocking evangelist going around any conversation that started.
That's called a dealer.
I know, and I regret it now.
It's the game that ruins relationships, jobs, housework routines. It's the game I have installed and uninstalled and installed and uninstalled.
Games like this really are about that sort of exploration and the journey through the world, not just getting to the top level.
So many people get so many different things out of WoW that's kind of like a benchmark of a game that provides more different experiences than any other. So in that sense, I think it's probably one of the most important games we've seen ever made, for sure. Yeah.
Every once in a while, I think to myself, maybe I'll just go back and see how the old characters are doing.
Just try it once, just once.
Just once.
Just for a couple of hours.
I thought I was out and then it dragged me back in.
Leroy, you were just stupid as hell.
At least I have chicken.
World of Warcraft started my love affair with the rogue class Barjo. I loved being formidable, but stealthy.
Yes, there's nothing quite like a good sap troll. Well, the next game on our list messed with our minds in the weirdest of ways. Goose, if you would.
Far
Far above the world floats a city born from aspiration, driven by theocratic megalomania and torn apart by inequality. It's a city of complexity that harbours a story of revenge and redemption.
I think the big thing that I love with just the BioShock games overall was just how well they deliver storytelling inside a set-piece action sequence.
What I love about BioShock Infinite the most, I think, is the story. It's so compelling and so beautiful and interesting, and the characters are flawed and fantastic, and yeah, I love it.
When it comes to characters, it's rare for a first-person shooter to leave us feeling so attached, but it was hard not to fall just that little bit in love with the multi-dimensional Elizabeth.
I think it's intentional that you become closer to Elizabeth than you do to Booker. The journey that we see from Elizabeth, even in just a very visual way, the way we see her progress from such a childlike sort of Disney princess style character to this fully grown woman, and she's thrown into this life because she has no choice in the matter. You definitely form a really strong connection to her as she grows.
And the music, the music. You couldn't help but stop what you were doing and just soak it all in.
I know I constantly find myself thinking about the barbershop quartet version of God Only Knows all the time. I need that on a playlist somewhere.
God only knows what I'd be without you.
It's no surprise that with such a complex story, the ending was going to be difficult for many to grasp.
Goose catch!
Thanks.
The ending was like 2001. I just never quite worked out what the heck was going on.
It was an art house ending.
Yeah, I guess it was.
Because it's a BioShock game, you were expecting a twist ending. You were expecting something to shock you, but somehow when you get to that point and you realize that there's been clues the whole time that you didn't pick up on, and it all culminates at once. It's this big wave of events. I think it's a masterpiece.
It really gives you this lovely kind of sequence where you're able to just enjoy like a last few moments with a couple of characters that you've had a great time spending time with, and really kind of get to see them off at the end of the game. And I think they did that so well.
They're doors.
Doors to
Everywhere. All that's left is the choosing.
Heck, someone once said to me, BioShock Infinite is so beautiful, why does it have to be a shooter?
Yeah, I think what's so incredible about it is that it didn't feel like a shooter because it blended so many interesting ideas and design choices. But it's time to reveal number 8, so where are we off to next, Barjo?
Into the Wasteland.
I don't want to set the world on fire.
As humans, we're fascinated by what could happen when society crumbles. And when it comes to post-apocalypses, this was one game that set the world on fire.
Fallout 3 was another one of those games that I shut myself into my bedroom and played. My housemate was playing it at the same time, so we both became these sort of weird recluses, sort of barely showering and surviving on chippies and snacks.
Now listen close for this important public service announcement.
I want to be a gun-toting, mutated, half-lizard, hottie firing nukes at giant animals in a post-apocalyptic 1950s America.
Hey, you know that moment where you come out of the vault for the first time and you're blinded by light and you already miss Liam Neeson as your dad?
I can't believe you're already 10.
Now, when you leave your house after days of playing Fallout 3, did you get that weird moment? That weird pang of like, what am I doing? Where's the capital?
Hey, Smoothskin, you need something?
Well, I mean, Fallout 3, the second that you kind of opened that vault for the first time and walked out and you kind of saw that land is one of the best moments I've ever had in gaming. And I just kind of looked around and went, I am going to loot the hell out of this place.
I love the way you'd open up one of those vaults and head inside and wonder what was inside. You know, it was an experiment gone wrong with plants, an experiment gone wrong with people. They let radiation seep in. Yeah, it's a heck of a lot of fun.
And I just remember sort of trudging around the wasteland and, you know, that feeling of being completely alone and completely isolated in this incredible world that is completely crafted with love and care and attention to detail. Knowing that whatever I can see, I can go to, and there's always going to be something to do on the horizon.
And I still can't hear any music from that era without immediately thinking about Fallout. It had a big effect on me, and that's impressive for a game that was brown.
It was massively ambitious. Bethesda totally pulled it off.
Red Dead Redemption. It transported us back to the dying days of the Old West and put us in the shoes of the gloriously gritty and determined John Marsden.
This is where we part ways, friend. You have yourself a good time.
Favorite video game of all time, Red Dead Redemption, no question about it, Red Dead. He's just got that swag, you know? Like sometimes I don't even play the game where I'm like doing the storyline, I'm just like walking around, just being like, it's great, I love it.
Red Dead Redemption is, I think, the finest period game I've ever played. The thing I love about games, period games in particular, is that they're kind of like time machines. They take you to another place, a place that not only can you not visit, it just literally doesn't exist anymore. And Red Dead transported you there. And I think the atmosphere in Red Dead is amongst the best in any video game I've ever played.
I could never have imagined a game where I would have been happy to go into an empty field and look for flowers, and that's it. I'm totally happy to do that in Red Dead Redemption. God knows why. I think it's probably because Red Dead Redemption has the most fully realised universe and world of any game I've ever played. You know, the sunsets, the sunrises, everything about that game is beautiful, and it's one of those very few games where I would turn it on just to be in that world and not do anything.
One of the incredible things about Red Dead is how it can make the most simple things incredibly memorable. Like arriving in Mexico for the first time in Red Dead, it's this like moving journey through this empty landscape, set to this beautiful like acoustic track. You're sort of riding through Mexico as the sun's coming down.
Pushing forward through the night, aching just to blur aside.
Those multiplayer shootouts and punch-ups are some of my best online gaming memories, Barjo.
Yes, we certainly had fun horsing around. Nothing?
Yes, all right, well, let's see what came in at number 6.
I knew this would be fun. They told me it wasn't fun at all, so they said it's not fun at all.
Portal 1 was this great puzzler. Then Portal 2 comes along, and it's a great puzzler, but it's also got a brilliant plot, and it is hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant! You did find a portal gun! Oh, do you know what? It just goes to show people with brain damage are the real heroes in the end, aren't they, at the end of the day? Brave.
You saw the development of GLaDOS from this secretary to this evil, overarching robot intelligence.
It's your old friend, deadly neurotoxin. If I were you, I'd take a deep breath and hold it.
And it's also one of those games that kind of made me feel quite smart, and when I was solving a puzzle, that kind of light bulb moment of this is it, it made me feel like a genius.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember that one point where GLaDOS is in the potato.
Oh, hi. So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
And that is just like, who thought of that? You know, who thought of that?
They've taken all the magic of Portal, which was possibly the best original first-person sort of game experience that wasn't about killing people, and making it co-op as well.
So the entire time that we were playing Portal 2 together was basically just me being like, okay, Mum, you need to change the way you look and then shoot. And it took forever, but we actually managed to get through the first 3 co-op levels, and it's probably one of my proudest achievements.
There were, I think at one point, over 100 people on my friends list that were playing Portal at the same time. I've never seen anything like that before.
That universe, just for me, needs to continue. I just really want to see a Portal 3 because I loved it so much.
Well, coming in next up very aptly at number 5.
I don't know whether it reflects well on GTA 5 or poorly on the next generation consoles, that when the next generation consoles came out, Grand Theft Auto 5 remained the only game I kept playing.
Oh, there's a surprise!
By giving you 3 totally different characters to switch between, GTA 5 managed to weave a strong narrative thread through the usual chaotic sandbox gameplay.
I've been a really good boy, Doc. Really good, not one problem.
One time that I was, as Michael, just casually seeing his shrink, you know, getting a lecture, and then I swapped to Trevor, and immediately afterwards he's just throwing some guy off a bridge.
wish we had more time to delve into the real implications of your bigotry.
It was totally unexpected, and like he had his own world beyond me, and yeah, all of those moments were just really, really funny.
Trevor is a what?
Trevor is a good guy.
Trevor, it's all about Trevor, what he did, what he looked like, his voice actor, everything was brilliant. Thanks to the fact that it had 3 main characters, they were able to put someone like Trevor in there as one of them. He would never have been a main character.
I'm sorry. Where are my manners, right?
I mostly liked the cheats that you could enable. Me and my buds would Skyfall endlessly, forever and ever. It was a nice little sneaky cheat where it would just drop you from the heavens into the game. It would give you a really nice overview of the map, and you could Skyfall to your heart's content.
The physics in that game, the day-night cycle, the size of the city, the fact that everyone in that city is just driving around like it's real, like they actually exist, was just mind-blowing. It was fantastic.
Each of its parts are more impressive in a lot of ways than sort of dedicated games in those genres. The driving in GTA 5 is more successful than, you know, pure driving games, like some pure driving games. There are third-person action games that don't get it as right as GTA 5, and yet GTA 5 is doing all these other things at once. The emergent fun that you can glean from GTA 5 it's literally infinite.
I'm in love with you.
The f*** are you talking
Okay,
about,
well,
Doc?
that's not true. Good, you're learning. Good.
What's going on?
Nothing. It's just... I think you need a new therapist.
Hex, there are a few games where you can load it up to find your character drunk, in their underpants, and surrounded by corpses.
Okay, next up, number 4 is a game that truly broke new ground. Minecraft has managed to grow into one of the best-selling games in history and become a true phenomenon.
I remember the first time I was talking to anybody about Minecraft when I heard about it, and it was like, well, this just seems really ridiculous. I think I came back to it when it seemed like a cool game for kids, that kind of infinite Lego set. They love that more than anything else on the planet right now.
Minecraft to me is like the best case that indie gaming is totally a valid thing for anyone who's got an amazing idea. This is a game where we've got cubes, basically, that make up the world, and we would all think of that as too lo-fi. People love landscapes in Minecraft, and people just love exploring and tinkering and doing crazy stuff. I think this was the ultimate sandbox experience for people who aren't looking for conflict in their game.
Minecraft for me is the ultimate game that you can play with anyone in your family. It's the game that I play most often with my son, and we create our own worlds, and it's just fantastic to be able to combine your creativity and, you know, map out a plan of what you're going to make and look up all crafting recipes online of things that other people have managed to do.
Minecraft for me isn't necessarily about me playing it, it's more just watching what other people do with it. And the potential for whole new worlds that we've never explored in games, but also interpretations of worlds we have seen. That's where the real excitement is for me.
It's kind of made indie games mainstream. It's brought back that retro gaming vibe to a big way, to a bigger audience. It's kind of got kids and their parents playing the same game. I've got a feeling that 20, 50 years from now, we'll look back at Minecraft and we'll think it could even be the most important game that's ever been released.
I suspect the Spawn Point viewers gave this a big bump in votes, and rightly so. Congratulations to Notch and everyone at Mojang.
Yes, it goes to show that you don't need cutting-edge graphics to put gamers in their seats. Hex, we're down to the top 3.
Yes, and Goose insisted he reveal this one, so Australia, this is your 3rd most popular game ever.
16 years ago, one legendary game boldly rode into a new dimension and became one of the most revered games of all time. Coming in at number 3, it's The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. In a time of transition when most games were just struggling to move to 3D, Ocarina of Time took the already beloved Zelda franchise and expertly transformed it, setting an almost unobtainable standard for future adventure games.
It introduced me to a certain strangeness in games, a cryptic nature where the story isn't necessarily cut and dry. There's a little bit open to interpretation, and there's a beauty in that I still seek in games.
The world of Hyrule felt believable, it felt traversable, tangible.
Before the Grand Theft Auto and the free roam stuff, when you came off these 2D games and you played Legend of Zelda, it was just massive. And the soundtrack was awesome, the items were awesome, and what I really loved about that game is my mum played it too. When we got stuck, my mum would go, "Boys, look up," and we'd look up and there was like an item or something that we could hook shot to.
When I first played Ocarina of Time, I was really, really young. It was one of the first games I played on the 64, and I kind of had no idea what I was doing, but I managed to get Epona, and I just remember a lot of the time having no idea where to go. I would just ride around the fields at nighttime, and I didn't realize the first time it went to night that things would pop out of the ground and try to attack me, and I was absolutely terrified, but even that sense of not knowing what was going to happen and the exploration just around that field was so, so awesome.
With all its locations, characters, quests, songs, dungeons, mechanics, enemies, masks, minigames, collectibles, and secrets combined, Ocarina was a triumph that connected with so many people.
And it was like that game had grown up with me. I think that was the most beautiful thing about Ocarina of Time. At that time, it was cutting edge and it was the best looking game out. It was the most ambitious game Nintendo had ever made or anyone had ever made.
In today's race to outdo and outshine everything that's come before it, you'd be hard-pressed to find a gamer out there who's forgotten that feeling the first time they left Kokiri Forest, scaled Death Mountain, leapt over Gerudo Valley, or just rode off into the sunset. Ugh.
Shigeru Miyamoto, we salute you. And thank you to Goose, you big ninty nerd, you.
Next up, number 2.
Seems like more people are getting infected.
Barely half an hour into The Last of Us, it was clear this was something truly special. It managed to generate moments of beauty, emotion, and stillness while never letting that constant threat of danger subside.
All right, move on through. Thanks. It's not what they put in there, it's what they don't put in there. There's this section that occurs just after you, Joel and Ellie become sort of separated. It's just them. And you sort of go into this underground section, and the whole time I'm sitting there waiting for something to leap out and just eat my face. And this section takes about half an hour to get through, and it's dark, and you're sort of using your torch, and nothing happens. You get out the other side, and nothing's happened. Nothing's attacked you, and it's just that all of that tension has just built up in this just knot in your stomach, and nothing happens. And I think that's really, really clever.
Okay.
Let's get a move on.
It told a very sort of small story between a man and a girl with such grace. And I don't think we'd ever seen that before, really, in video games, told with that kind of maturity, where, you know, so much of it was show, not tell. You know, it was the things that were left unspoken.
I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
I would say that probably 90% of video games focus entirely on being fun and don't care at all about story. And so to have a game that pushes so far in the other direction is really noteworthy. And I think people were really, really surprised. I have friends who don't play video games who watched the cutscenes of The Last of Us, almost like a film, because it really was trying something bold and grandiose with the medium.
You won't survive long out there. I can protect you.
Oh, thanks.
I think it's set the benchmark now for narrative in video games. I think that for every video game from now on wanting to tell a really, you know, mature story, they're going to look to The Last of Us, because at the moment, that's where the bar is at.
Well, Well, we all knew that one would be high up there, and it joins a small but ever-growing list of games that are truly cinematic experiences.
Every time I see footage of that game, I want to go back and play it all over again. And that's saying something. It has power over me.
Indeed. Well, here we are at number 1, and this game held the lead right from the start.
That's right. This is it, Australia, the number 1 game in the Good Game Top 100 as voted by you.
The Elder Scrolls series has long pushed the boundaries of open-world RPGs, and with Skyrim, Bethesda gave us a sense of gaming freedom that we could once only dream of.
Like the things you can do in Skyrim, it's just incredible. The scope of it, the breadth of it, it's just majestic.
My strongest memory of Skyrim is basically just wandering around that enormous landscape and sort of realizing the sort of breadth of it. And like nothing was sort of preordained for me. It was all up to me. It was just that sort of scope and that freedom that sort of took my breath away when I played that game.
It's just such a massive game. You know, its lore is deeper than the Mariana Trench.
It was just a huge environment with tons of different characters and tons of things to do. I have a friend who's logged about 800 hours into that game on a Steam account. It's embarrassing. Tom, you're a bad person.
It was so easy to lose yourself in this beautiful game. From lush wilderness to rolling, craggy tundras, from flowing streams to frozen mountain peaks, you conquered it all. But while you ruled the land, something else controlled the skies.
Skyrim is a game about dragons. Who doesn't want to fight dragons? The first time you see a dragon come through a wall and try to breathe fire on you, how can you not be sold on that?
The dragon in Skyrim as like a real-time opponent of that size and that scale that looks that good, nothing's come close. I think that was like a money moment for every single person who saw that game. It's probably got a whole bunch of people into RPGs.
In this world, you could live out your wildest fantasies.
Skyrim, you could either play as a floral guy just picking flowers, or you could punch dragons in the face.
Day upon day mining, eking out an existence and modding it so that they have to eat and sleep like a normal person.
It really struck a chord with people.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
It's got this undefinably addictive quality due to the imaginative world building and depth that they really put into the environments.
I still think Skyrim gives someone that non-linear adventure like no other RPG out there, and it's probably why it's so popular.
It came out in 2011, and to this day, it's still absolutely beautiful. It's stunning.
The thing about Skyrim for me is because I'm a bit older, you know, kind of an old fogey, Skyrim's sort of the game that I wish we had. You know, when I was a kid, you'd play these kind of blocky little RPGs or text adventure games, you know, Zork. And I used to dream back then, imagine if you could just wander around in this fantasy world, you know, which is better than life. And that's what Skyrim is.
We were so happy to inform Bethesda of their #1 spot, and they wanted to share this message with us.
All of us here at Bethesda Game Studios want to thank all of our fans in Australia for this incredible honor and all your support over the years. Thanks a lot.
Well, that's it, the Good Game Top 100. Thank you so much to all of you who voted.
Yes, I'm sure it caused as much joy as it has heated arguments.
We'll be back next week. Until then, Banjo out.
Checks out.
Oh, I'm so sick of standing, Hex.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? I just don't know what to do with my hands.